Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Dad and Daughter Reads, a book club podcast. This is episode 17, and today we're diving into pages 121 through 232 of Buffalo Hunter Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. Sorry for missing last week. I had work and family obligations to attend to, but joining me, as always, my daughter, Miranda. What have you been up to the last 2 weeks, Miranda, and what have you been reading?
Hello. The last couple of weeks, a lot of birthday stuff. I feel like all of my friends' birthdays are in the spring and summer. So lots of birthday stuff. 2 birthday parties, a birthday dinner. Anyway, so yes, lots of birthdays, birthday parties, doing all of that. And then my mom was in town the past 3-4 days. She came for Mother's Day. And we saw 2 Broadway shows. We saw Real Women Have Curves, which was really good. It's based off a movie. And we saw Hell's Kitchen, which is the Alicia Keys musical. It's like loosely based off her life. They were both very, very good, very fun. We also had Mother's Day brunch at this really good vegan restaurant. It was all like vegan Mexican food, and it was freaking delicious if you're in Brooklyn, or no, Manhattan. East Village. It's called Avant Garden. Highly recommend. We also yesterday went to a bookstore that she's been dying to go to for the past couple years, but every time she's come, they've had weird hours. So we finally were able to make it this time. It's called Café con Libros. So books and coffee. It's like teeny tiny. It's in Brooklyn. It's like Prospect Heights, Crown Heights, but it's Black, queer, woman-owned bookstore.
Oh,
so
okay.
Shout out to them. Mom bought up like half the store. It's really tiny, but all their books are like, I think they're all women. I think they were all women written books, and then all like women of color. Well, there were some in there that were white women, but it was like a teeny tiny little section. Because I saw like normal people and stuff in there. But yeah, so we bought a bunch of books and some bags. So I officially have my whole summer reading list now.
Oh.
I can, for the watchers out there, you can see those are most of the books that, except for the top 2, but most of the books that we bought there. So I'm excited to read all of those. Most of them are Latin. I think I picked mostly like Latin women authors. This one, Warrior Girl Unearthed, I think is native. Yeah, it's native. And I think it's a series. That's the second book. So I ordered the first one on Thrift Books because they didn't have the first one in the store. So I'm excited to read that because it sounds like a sci-fi fantasy. I think it's fantasy, like a fantasy series. So I'm pretty excited about that. Yeah. But then reading wise, on my own, I finished the second book, The Obelisk Gate of the Broken Earth trilogy. I quite liked it. Yeah, I liked the second book as much as I liked the first book.
Yeah,
I did. It was really cool. I like all the stuff going on with her daughter. I'm excited to see how that all ties up and ends up. Yeah, it's really interesting. I like that dynamic. So I started Stone Sky a few days ago. I'm not gonna lie, like I really like this series a lot. I'm not like loving it. I feel like there's still like so much going on, but nothing really going on at the same time. And I feel like by the third book in a trilogy, I want things to be going on. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I want us to already know what we're doing, and we still don't really know what we're doing. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like by the third book, you get into a trilogy. It's like, okay, they know what they're doing, and now they're doing it, right? But we still don't really
I guess so,
know what's
this is a little different
going on. Like, there's still a lot of, like, because I'm like, so the goal is to, with the moon, but, like, it doesn't seem a lot of urgency with that, and we're still getting a lot. Now we're getting even more backstory in the third book.
I think you'll get a little more urgency in this book towards the end.
Okay, but I feel like I wanted it already.
Yeah.
Because now I'm getting more backstory.
Right.
Like of some completely different thing, So I'm like, okay, I feel like we could have learned about this earlier, but whatever. So yeah, so every time I pick up to read it, I'm kind of, and I'm also there's so much going on too. Sometimes I get a little confused on what is what and where we are and who's talking.
Right.
So I'm a little like like I'm not rushing through it like I would a series that I'm like really loving, you know?
Right.
But it's not bad.
Yeah,
Like I like
can see
it.
that.
I'm enjoying it. It's just maybe a little bit too slow for me.
Yeah, it is kind of slow. I think my favorite book was the first book of the series. And then the ending was good, though, I think. So I think the ending of the third book is good. And the reason I like the first book the best is I just really like the way the setup was to figure it all out, how it all came together with the three different point of views. So
that was really cool. I also liked that too.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I'm excited to read it, though. I'm excited to see what happens, for it to all tie up. I really, really, really like Nassen's story a lot. I'm very intrigued by what's going on with her. And she's like 10 years old, which is even crazier. She seems really mature. The way that she's being written, she seems like really, really mature. And then every now and then they'll be like, and I'm only 10 years old. And I'm like, oh, I forgot. You're only 10. Because she's
well, I think it's just part of, how she's growing up and everything that's going on around her kind of matures her quickly.
Yeah. And then she's just figuring things out so fast. Like she's just so gifted at it. So yeah. So I really like when it's her story. Because right now they're like traveling now because she destroyed the whatever. I'm like speaking in code, so I don't spoil anything.
You don't want to spoil it, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just kind of like, all right, like okay, like do something, like get the moon. So yeah. But yeah, that's it. Yeah. And then I'm excited to start all of these other books when I'm done with this trilogy. But yeah, that was it. That's my last couple weeks. How about you?
Well, let's see. I finished watching the Righteous Gemstone series. Wow. That ended crazy. The ending of that was just insane. I kind of saw part of it coming. I know you haven't seen this, so I don't want to spoil it, but there's a little twist at the end. And then, let's see, I finished reading Star Wars Mask of Fear. So that's the book that has the three main characters of Mon Mothma, Bail Organa, and Saw Gerrera, who are pretty much the leaders of the rebellion when it first starts. And Mon Mothma is actually was the leader of the rebellion through the whole thing. But I wanted to get that read because Andor started. I was way behind on that, but I did catch up. But first, I'll talk about what I read. Also, I started The Expanse Book 4, Cibola Byrne. But then, like I was saying, Andor started, and I had to catch up on the first 9 episodes, and the last 3 episodes dropped tonight at 9 p.m., but I probably won't watch it till tomorrow night. I'll have to stay away from spoilers because it's the last 3 episodes. And it's kind of cool the way they release this in arcs. They call them arcs. So episode 1 through 3 was released, and then 4, 5, and 6 the next week. And then 8, 7, 8, 9 the next week. And then this week will be 10, 11, and 12. So it was very cool the way they released that. And that show is really good. Yeah. Really good. Yeah. I mean, it's not only the best Star Wars project, I think, ever. I think it's one of the best shows on TV right now.
Wow.
Yeah. And there's no Jedi in it, no lightsaber bullshit. It's all political shit because it's all about the rebellion, becoming the rebellion, fighting back against the Empire. And then you have some other...
What time is it taking place? Where is it in terms of the movies?
Right. So season 1 took place in 5 ABY. I don't know if you know what that means. Or I'm sorry, 5 BBY. That means before the Battle of Yavin. So the Battle of Yavin is basically the very first Star Wars movie, A New Hope.
Okay.
So the way they do time is that's basically when Jesus was born, right? BC AD right. kind of thing. So BBY is before that battle. And then I think it's ABY is after that battle. And it goes backwards when you're going forwards. Or I'm sorry, backwards when you're looking behind that. So Andor season 1 was 5 BBY. The first arc was 4 BBY. The second arc, now I'm into season 2. The second arc was 3 BBY, the third arc 2 BBY, and then this last arc will be 1 BBY.
Okay.
And it leads up to, and it's going to end right where the movie Rogue One takes off. Rogue One is also about Andor, which that came out in 2016, I think, that movie. And then from there, it goes straight into, because that's how they got, how they got the plans of the Death Star in the first movie? That's how they got the plans of the Death Star.
Okay, so this is all leading up to A New Hope then, basically.
Yes, right.
I see. Okay, so after Anakin turns into Darth Vader,
yes,
right
Darth
before
Vader,
Luke Skywalker gets his journey. Cool.
Yes. And there's no Jedi running around, because they're all the ones that are left. The very few that are left are in hiding. Yoda, Obi-Wan, and we don't have Luke yet running around. And you just have Vader, and the Empire is really the only Force users that are a big deal. Vader is in Rogue One a little bit, but he's not in Andor, and he shouldn't be in Andor. God damn it. And you have all these Star Wars nerds talking about, well, Darth Vader should be in it. I actually saw an article on a website that said this. And I'm like, no, you don't need Jedi lightsaber bullshit in every goddamn Star Wars project.
Sure.
That's not what Star Wars is really about.
Right. It's political.
Yes. And then you have people that say, I don't like politics in Star Wars. Well, then don't fucking watch Star Wars, because that's what it's about.
Sure.
In fact, there was an interview that came out, I don't know when, but it was George Lucas talking to James Cameron, two big sci-fi movie makers. And he said that, Cameron asked him, he said, the rebels, they would be considered terrorists in our world, right? And he's like, yeah, and they were based on the Viet Cong. The rebellion is based on the Viet Cong. So if the rebellion's based on the Viet Cong, who the fuck do you think the Empire is based on? The Western world. I'm not going to say it's just the US, but it's because, the French were in Vietnam first.
Yeah.
But it's the Western world, capitalism, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So yeah, it's definitely very political. And this show is very political, because you have a senator that ends up becoming the leader of the rebellions. So.
Okay. Cool. So I could watch it and not be too lost then.
Yes. Okay. And you should watch Andor season 1, then Andor season 2, then watch Rogue One.
Okay, yeah, because I don't even think I've seen Rogue One. But if it's all happening between the first 1, 2,
all happens
3,
like 5
and 4,
years.
5, 6, then I totally know. Because I watched the Obi-Wan Kenobi one, which is in that time period too.
The show?
Yeah.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, because I love Ewan McGregor.
Oh, okay.
I'm a big Ewan McGregor girl.
And Darth Vader was in that, and that's fine. I'm fine with that.
That was a scary episode too. That episode that he was burning everything. That was I was scared when I think I was high, so I was super scared.
That was a good episode, though.
And when I was like, oh my God, this is terrifying. So scary. But that was a good show. I really like that show. So that probably happens. Is that happening before Andor or during?
Yeah, I think that happens before Andor. I don't know the exact time, but I'm pretty sure it's before. Because I think it's probably somewhere in the middle between Revenge of the Sith, which is episode 3, and episode 4, which is A New Hope. Because there's like a big 20-year gap right there between those two.
Okay, so that's probably because it's when Leia's like a kid. She's she's like 9 or 10 or something.
Oh, right. So yeah, there you go. It's about halfway through there then.
Okay, cool.
Because she was born at the end of Revenge of the Sith, episode 3, and you have a 20-year gap between that and
so that's right in the middle.
I think it's a 19-year gap.
Okay, cool. So then I could watch Andor, and it would be like I'm watching it kind of in order. Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, I'll do that.
Andor season 1, Andor season 2, and then Rogue One, and then you'll see Andor's full. His entire story, pretty much.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm intrigued.
So, watch. And if you want to read Mask of Fear, that'll give you more background. But that happens right after episode 3. What happens in Mask of Fear? It's like the very, very beginnings of the rebellion and how it kind of starts. Mm-hmm. You don't get any Luthen in that one. So Luthen's a big deal in Andor, who's also a very big time rebellion guy. So you'll see some of him if you watch it. All right. And then, I'll probably watch the last 3 episodes of that tomorrow night. And then I'll probably watch Rogue One again, just because I haven't seen it in a while. Like I said, the last 3 episodes, it basically leads up and it's going to stop right where Rogue One takes off. And then another thing I'm excited for is Murderbot Diaries will be coming out on Apple TV Plus on May 16th, which is Friday. So I love those books, and I love the Murderbot because he doesn't like anybody.
Right.
He's just antisocial and just wants to watch TV.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Understandable.
And
yeah.
I think
for that.
Yeah, I think some of the Rotten Tomatoes stuff has come out. It's got 100%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
that's cool. Well, I'll have to watch
I'm sure
that
to go
too,
down
then.
a little bit, but Andor also has like a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes, I think, something like that. So yeah.
Well, I got lots of things to watch then now.
Yeah. And that's about all I've been doing. Not a whole lot of reading, just a little bit. Been watching a lot of stuff, trying to get caught up on what I want to watch. And I don't know how Murderbot's going to be delivered. I don't know if it's going to be one episode a week. It probably will be, which...
Usually Apple TV is like that, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So you got to wait every week for the next... You got to wait a week for the next episode. This isn't 1980s anymore. I like to have it all at once.
I actually like waiting. I like waiting because then I have something to look forward to every week.
Yeah, that's true.
So I kind of like going back because I actually started watching the second season of Poker Face with Natasha Lyonne on Peacock.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I really liked the first season. So the second season, they released like the first 3 episodes, and then I don't know how they're. I think after that they do it once a week. But it's kind of nice. I'm like, okay, I have something to watch Thursday night. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's about it for me. We don't have much for social media book buzz. I mean, I could go off on a rant on Star Wars fans, which I already kind of did, about Darth Vader being an Andor, and everyone who thinks that can just shut up and go F themselves. You're idiots.
And there you have it.
Yeah. It's not needed. The show is great how it is. So yeah, we can go ahead and jump into Buffalo Hunter x Hunter with the recap.
Let's do it. All right. So first few chapters, we have Etsy Bucharn, who's a professor at the University of Wyoming in 2012, and she's reading the journal of her great-great-great-grandfather, a Lutheran pastor, Arthur Bucharn, for her thesis. She's trying to figure out what happened to him because he's disappeared. In his town in Montana, bodies they call humps are turning up skinned. An Indian man called Goodstab starts showing up to Arthur's church, and he asks to confess his story to him. Arthur listens and recounts it in his journal as the Noxer's Dark Gospel. Goodstab recalls how he and some people in his tribe found the Catman. As they try to take the Catman up the mountain to fulfill a prophecy, they run into American soldiers and get in a battle. They let the Catman out, and he goes crazy, killing most of them, and bites Goodstab before he's shot in half by a cannon by one of the soldiers. Another body turns up in present-day Montana, or should say, Arthur's present-day Montana, and the sheriff has the dog eat a part of it, and the dog ends up dead. Goodstab continues his story and recounts his first few months as a vampire. He first goes after the soldier who survived the attack, then starts drinking animal blood, but he realizes this turns him into the animals he's drinking, so he starts going after trappers. He accidentally drinks a Pecuni boy he knows, then, when trying to run from himself, ends up finding a herd of dead buffalo that have been shot and skinned with the meat not taken. He's then shot by someone far off. And that's where we left off.
Right. And I kind of figured out here the way these things are named, the chapters. So like whenever it's Arthur's point of view, the name of the chapter will start with the absolution of 3 persons. And then I just did figure that out.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm a little behind. And then the Noxer's Dark Gospel is Goodstab's point of view. But what was throwing me off is some chapters didn't have a title, but that just means that point of view continues into that chapter. And that's what was throwing me off. But yeah, that's how it's going. I figured it out.
Well, good job. I see.
All right. So chapter 7, the absolution of 3 persons, April 11th, 1912. Arthur tries to find holes in Goodstab's story again, wondering if Indians at the time knew what a cat was, since they called the man in the cage Catman. Arthur attends a burial of one of the humps, and there is a man there in a bowler hat. We have more of Arthur's gluttony with the peas porridge, and then we have some talk of the Titanic, which sank on April 14th, 1912. I found that kind of strange at first, but we'll get into more of that here in a minute.
I also did too. I guess I just was kind of like, oh, maybe he's just setting up. It's something that people would have been talking about, you know?
Right.
It was like a big deal. So I thought it's just like, oh, there's just a big thing going on in that time period. But yeah, but I also was like, interesting. I wonder how that'll come later. But yeah, in this chapter, he's also a bit of a drunkard because he's like talking about how he was drinking a lot in the church and getting drunk in the church. Like, there's just a lot in this chapter, I feel like, where he's, again, talking about his gluttony and he's getting drunk in the church. I'm just like, this guy is not like a good guy, is he? Or like he's supposed to be this pastor and he's trying to validate himself, and being this gluttonous guy who's like drinking alcohol. And also, because I remember in this chapter too, he was talking about like how Goodstab would talk about gorging himself on the blood,
right?
And how he didn't like it. And then Arthur was like, I don't even know what he's talking about because I love that feeling. do you remember that?
I don't remember that part.
He doesn't. He's like. Well, he's saying it in his own language, like his own the way that they talk. But he really was like, and Goodstab was describing how he felt overgorged and whatever, and he's like, and I just don't understand like how any man wouldn't want to feel that way. Like I feel amazing when I feel stuffed. It's like, oh
okay.
My God. He was like, and that, because I think the way he says it, he's like, and this thing that Goodstab finds to be strange, like I find to be normal, kind of the way he like was saying it to himself.
Okay.
Like he just was like, it's weird how he thinks that's a strange feeling when like that's like a good normal feeling for most people. And then again, like he marvels at how a man could leave like delicious warm food behind because he like tries to give him the stew and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
He's like, that's the only thing that makes me believe he's telling the truth, because how couldn't a man eat this warm, good smelling food? Like how could anybody leave that behind? So he's like, so maybe he is telling the truth.
Right.
I was like, this man is
well,
disgusting.
I mean, I can understand that. Okay, so I can understand that because maybe back then food's harder to get, harder to come by, right? Back in that time?
Yeah, sure, but that's not the way Arthur was coming about it, though.
Well, no, it wasn't, but
he was like, I could never imagine turning away such delicious food.
Right.
This man is nasty. Yeah.
He just likes food. I don't know.
Well, I think it's just like a nature of his character, right? It's just like,
yeah,
let's not paint this guy as like a good guy. Like this guy's a hypocrite and he's gross.
Yeah,
and like
definitely a hypocrite. Yeah,
super hypocritical and like gross and like this like ugh kind of like that's the feeling I get. Like ugh, like this man's like gross.
All right, chapter 8, still in Arthur's point of view, April 13, 1912, the next day, Arthur goes to see another Blackfoot Indian on the edge of town named Amos Short Ribs. More food there. He brings a house cat with him that he borrowed from the local whorehouse. Amos wasn't familiar with a house cat, but before Arthur leaves, Amos asks about the full blood. So he's bringing that cat with him to see if this Blackfoot Indian man knows what a cat was or would have known what a cat was back then, because he's trying to poke holes in Goodstab's story, right?
Right.
So while he's there meeting with this guy, someone else shows up, man in the bowler hat, and his name is Dove, and he was at that funeral. And Dove is a Pinkerton that came to Miles City tasked to find members of a family from San Francisco. And he says this family is in or around Miles City, parts of them anyway, and he can't say for certain where their skin is. So he thinks, most of them have been killed by the full blood. And so a little bit about Pinkertons. They're not very good people.
Oh.
They're basically like security guards, right? They're hired security guards, but they think they're like sheriffs back then, and they just pretty much did what they want. And they're even around today, okay? And I'll tell you a story about them here real quick.
Oh my.
that has to do with Magic the Gathering.
Okay.
So before a certain set was, I don't remember what set it was, and Magic the Gathering was coming out, and this man bought some online, and they sent him the set that was going to come out even later because they had it in stock, I guess, early. And he was posting pictures of it online. And Hasbro, Magic the Gathering, Wizards of the Coast, sent Pinkertons to this man's house, and they were pushing him around to get him to to search his house and get these cards back.
Oh.
It's fucking ridiculous. Oh yeah. Wizards of the Coast got some really good customer feedback on that when people found out, because it was all over the internet. Yeah, if you're into Magic the Gathering or whatever, but
yeah,
you wouldn't have heard about it otherwise. Oh. But yeah, Pinkertons are still around.
That's crazy.
I just not a very good thing.
Yeah, because when I just looked it up, I just saw the overview. It was like, man named Pinkerton opened up a detective agency. And so they were like detectives.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize they had so much controversy around them.
Yes, they do.
Wow. All right. Well, you were certainly triggered by the Pinkerton in this book.
Don't like the Pinkertons.
All right. Well, we're anti-Pinkerton here. That's fine. All right. Yeah, that's crazy. But yeah, also in this chapter, I think we're still getting, I got more from Arthur's character as well, because he's really talking bad, like talking down about Native Americans and Indians. Like, you can tell he's obviously, like, back in this time period, white people were biased, but he's like as specific, like especially saying like really ignorant things, about Native Americans. Yeah. Like, he's like really looking down, like when he's talking about distinguishing like the tribes, because he's like, and Amos told me he's actually not this, he's this, but who cares? It's all the same,
Well, yeah, it's 1912. What do you expect?
Right. I think it's just like good, because then to me, that's giving me more of a perspective of like, okay, why is Goodstab talking to him specifically? Like, is he gonna, like, he's trying to do something to Arthur? Like, what's his motive behind talking to Arthur and telling him this stuff? So it makes me feel like, okay, like Arthur's like a target, and it helps to know that like he's like terror, like he's, because he's obviously like really ignorant and condescending.
Right. And that's how it was back then. And I would say that Arthur's probably not as bad as others. Some people are probably worse than him.
I mean, yeah, maybe, but I think it's also giving that hypocritical notion, because he's saying all of this in his journal, which comes up later, right? He's saying all of these things in his journal, and he's thinking these things. Like, he's not saying these things out loud, typically.
Right.
Is what we're getting from the journal. This is just like his internal monologue. So that also, again, is like the hypocrisy. Like, he's trying to show that he's like this man of God and whatever, but then like he's actually thinking these horrible thoughts and doing these terrible things. So I think it shows that, like, again, more hypocrisy from him, and then us as the readers getting his like internal monologue. It's like, ugh, yeah, I see.
Yeah, I'm not trying to defend him, but I'm thinking he could probably be worse.
Yeah, but it's almost worse that he's fake about it.
Yeah, I can see that too. Yeah,
like, I'd rather, if someone's racist, I'd rather know, rather than like be racist out loud. Than like be racist internally and me not know personally. So I almost think it's worse. So we're just getting more. I'm just getting more and more of like, okay, this guy sucks.
Yeah. All right. Chapter 9, April 14th, 1912. Still in Arthur's point of view. Arthur and Dove walk back to town, and Dove interrogates Arthur while they're walking back. Dove says one of the men he was looking for was having meetings for weeks with a man in black robes before he disappeared. The man also had dark glasses and darker skin. I wonder who that could be. During the conversation, which Arthur is terrible at hiding information. I mean, he was just telling him everything. Dove mentions a 2-wagon caravan with a package that went missing in 1870. And obviously this is the caravan carrying the Catman, which was the package. And Goodstab shows up for the sermon again on Sunday.
I know, that was a nice added extra layer there.
Yeah. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
So other people knew about this. Yeah, well, I want to know where the hell the Catman came from.
Right. Like, how did they find him and trap him and like...
And catch and capture him and put him in a cage. That's what I want to know.
And then what were they going to do with him?
Ew. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm also very intrigued.
Yeah, lots of questions about the Catman.
Yeah, so I'm super intrigued about that as well. I was like, oh, what a nice, fun little extra layer of intrigue here.
Hopefully we get those answers. We may not, though. Who knows?
I'm sure
Because
we
probably
will.
most of the people that know where the Catman came from are dead.
Maybe.
People that were carrying him across in the caravan, I guess, maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
Is the Catman dead?
Yeah, he is. Because he said he said they burned him up and his ashes were different than the ashes of
Oh yeah, that's right. They did
the
burn him.
3 other Indian people that they burned.
You're right.
All right, chapter 10. Now we're going into Goodstaff's point of view, the Nachzer's Dark Gospel, April 14th, 1912. So we're back. Same day as the last one because it ended with Goodstaff coming into the sermon. So we go back to his story. He had been shot, if you remember from the recap, at the end of the recap, he hid inside a buffalo when the shooters came down to look for him.
Yeah, and after he's shot, he's like losing all of White Teeth's blood, the pecuni that he drank.
Right.
So he's losing all his vampire superpowers, but the buffalo that he's hiding in is still alive. So he drinks that buffalo's blood and gets strong again.
Yeah. So after they leave, they went down to look for him. He hid inside it. He tore a buffalo open and hid inside. After they leave, he goes and finds their camp, and there's like 8 or 10 of them. He kills a couple. He ends up getting shot again and flees into the night. And during this whole time, there's a buffalo calves that were following him. The trappers kill all of the calves, but one of them. And when Goodstab is running off after he got shot, he grabs the one that was left alive, and as he runs off.
Yeah, because he's doing all of this, and he kind of resolves to just die. He's like, it's fine. Like, I don't like if they kill me. But then this baby buffalo comes up to him, and then it's kind of a reminder for him to like keep fighting and like fight against these white men that are killing the buffaloes, is what I interpreted from that. Because he was like, whatever, like I just want to die. And then the baby buffalo was like, that's what I imagine the baby buffalo did to him.
Okay.
And
is that what a buffalo sounds like?
Baby buffalo. That's what a baby buffalo sounds like in my head. He was like, rah! And Goodstab was like, right, like I'll fight for you. And then he takes him as his little companion. But then I also thought it was interesting that one of the like killers was half Pekuni, and he knew him. He like knew one of the trappers because he was his dad married a Pekuni woman, and then so one of the guys that he killed was half Pekuni, and he knew who he was. Right. Like he had seen him before, and he knew who he was. Yeah. And I think when he killed him, the Pekuni also was like Goodstab. I feel like they recognized each other, and then he drowned him in the blood, which was nasty. So I thought that was an interesting little thing there, and like the idea of conforming to white, people and American and stuff.
Right.
And also there was a really good, really awesome quote that I wanted to bring up from this chapter, because he says, "What I am is the Indian who can't die. I'm the worst dream America ever had." Woof. That was powerful. I was like, wow. That made me feel all kinds of things. I was like, that's powerful.
Yeah, it's a pretty good quote.
Which is when he, like, again, going back to like he had resolved to like die, but then the baby buffalo came up to him and he was like, no, I'm gonna fight for these buffalo and like my people. And then kind of like his villain origin story, right? Like, I'm the Indian who can't die. I'm the worst dream America ever had, which was super cool. So far, I really love this author. I think he's a really good writer. And that quote like gave me chills. So I was like, that's fucking sick.
Yeah. All right. Chapter 11. The absolution of 3 persons. So we're going back to Arthur now, April 18th, 1912, after the Titanic has sunk. Chance Aubrey, a man of the town, had been talking about a ship he had interest in that was on its maiden voyage. The ship sunk and Chance hung himself. Obviously, this is the Titanic, which, like I said earlier, sunk on April 14th, 1912. Then we also find out that Dove, the Pinkerton man, was found dead a mile west of town on the train tracks. So these are deaths that are not really related to, because they weren't skinned or whatever, drain of their blood. The mailman, Lavinius Clarkson, is also missing. The town is now in fear and shuttered up. So at first I was like, why the hell are we talking about the Titanic in an Indian vampire story that takes place in Montana? Yeah, I get that it was probably a big deal and people talked about it, but it's still not necessary to come up in this story. But the more I thought about it, I was thinking maybe the author's just trying to make an aura of fear by not using every death as being part of the vampire story and using the Titanic to tie in this suicide. It's kind of neat since the dates line up with, the story that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I don't know what you think about that.
I don't really know what I think about that either. I mean, yeah, it was like, I guess this guy just had money. Maybe he had a bet. I think he even says Arthur's he had his whole like money put
He had
into
money
the
tied up into the Titanic somehow.
yeah. So then, so I just kind of was like, oh, that's interesting. But yeah, but also I don't know, but it's also suspicious because like with Dove being dead on the train tracks, like that's really suspicious, right? Because Dove is obviously like looking for Good Stab and like the Catman and what happened to the Catman and what happened in that caravan and stuff. I feel like definitely Dove Good Stab probably had something to do with that. But then I don't know. I guess maybe he had something to do with the Titanic guy too, possibly.
And you know what I was just thinking that I didn't think of before is maybe the Catman was on his way, or the people that were taking the Catman, they were on their way to take him to San Francisco.
Maybe.
And maybe it had something to do with that family. And then that's how, because, Good Stab ends up in San Francisco because remember one of the family members were last seen talking to a guy in a cloak and with dark glasses and dark skin. So maybe he went out to San Francisco to find out more about the Catman because that's where they were taking him.
Sure. Yeah.
It had something to do with that family.
Because I also am like, what's up with this family from San Francisco? Because obviously, like, I was like, were they like really big in the buffalo hunting business? Like, what's going on? Like, why is the San Francisco family important? So important that Good Stab is, because obviously Good Stab's killing them, right? I feel like that's a pretty...
Yeah. Yeah, because they're humps, so they're skinned and everything.
I feel like that's a pretty good theory, pretty accurate theory. So I also was like wondering, like, what's going on with this San Francisco family? Like, what is their place in all of this? Why is Good Stab killing them? Why is he here? What's going on? So that's an interesting theory. Like they were like they wanted the Catman for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe we will find out more about the Catman because maybe Good Stab already knows because he went to San Francisco.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's all tied up. Like, I feel like Good Stab is like searching for information or trying to like figure something out.
Yeah. Okay. And then, of course, we have more greed and gluttony from Arthur with the fucking ash cakes. And now the cat has pretty much become the church cat because he would not shut up about the fucking ash cakes. I was kind of tired of reading about it.
He wouldn't. And also he stole that cat because one of the ladies came looking for the cat and he like hid the cat.
Yeah, but I mean, the cat pretty much goes wherever it wants. It's a cat.
Yeah, but he hid the cat from her. Like, she was, like, looking for this cat, and he hid it. Like, he wouldn't...
Yeah.
So he stole the cat.
Okay.
He stole
Although I think even if she took the cat back, the cat may end up coming back anyway. Because they found the way in and out.
Maybe.
And ceiling area up there.
And also probably because there's always fucking food lying around. He's probably feeding that cat really well. That cat's gonna be fucking fat. But this cat kind of reminds me of like the Betsy's cat too, because she has a cat. The cat's always bringing her the great great granddaughter.
Oh right, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, so that was an interesting like tie. So I wonder. Like, that was what is it called? Mirror. It's like mirroring each other, him and this cat, and her and her cat, because she's like really like into her cat. So it's like, ooh, I wonder if it's the same cat. I wonder if it's a magical cat that lives forever. I don't know. That's just me being.
It's the same cat. I don't know.
It's my little. That's a little theory. I don't know. Who knows? Or maybe he is the cat. Again, I told you I had theories about the prairie dog because I feel like the prairie dog is somebody, and then I also am wondering what's up with the cat. Like I feel like the prairie dog is a person.
Okay,
that's what I think. I think the prairie dog is either like a Good Stab turned himself into a prairie dog by drinking a lot of prairie dog blood, or the prairie dog is something like that. That's what I think. Okay. So now I'm like, maybe the cat is somebody too. I don't know. I just feel like these animals all have some kind of purpose somewhere. They're something. They're somebody.
The cat is something. The cat man.
I don't know. Maybe. I'm just saying we gotta these animals because why else would he talk about? Well, why else also would he talk about like if you drink blood of the animal, you turn into the animal,
right?
You know. So I'm very curious. Very curious about that. Also, just more about Arthur being like a horrible, nasty person. And he like knows that the husband of the lady that's leaving him food is beating her and he doesn't do anything about it. He's like, it's not my place. It's not my place to say anything. And I'm a church pastor, so it's not my place to say anything. And it's like, it's literally your place to say something, but okay. So he's terrible. And then also I thought it was so funny because he's like eating her because, he's always trying to like be like, no, I shouldn't eat. Like, I need to save these cakes, but then I didn't. I just ate them all. And he says,
Yeah.
And he eats their cakes in one day, and he says it's in honor of the Titanic victims because warming my belly also warms theirs.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
they died in the Atlantic Ocean.
That's the part where I was like, okay, I'm sick of these fucking cakes. Because that's a bunch of bullshit.
That was the biggest crazy leap. That was so funny. I laughed out loud. That was so funny.
Yeah. He's just finding any excuse to eat up the rest of the cakes.
Any excuse to eat those cakes. Any excuse. Yeah, that was crazy. But then also, and I think it was in this chapter because I wrote it under this chapter. He does have a inkling because maybe I don't know why, but he was thinking like, I think Good Stab is like knows that I'm writing things down. Because I know he does. I know it like gets more into it later in the chapters, but I had under this one that he was kind of like worried that Good Stab is like been reading his journals. Like it's like a passing fleeting thought, and then it gets worse throughout the chapters.
Oh, okay.
Because he's kind of like, oh, I hope. Because I think maybe he recalls Good Stab saying something that he was like, I feel like I just wrote that down. So is he reading my journal? And he's like, I hope not, because I say some pretty shitty things about Indians. He has that moment. I thought it was in this chapter, but maybe I'm wrong. But maybe. I know he has that moment that he's like, I hope he's not reading my journal because I'm not saying nice things about Native Americans. I was like, yeah, motherfucker, you're not.
Yeah, it was either that chapter or this next one where that came up.
Because I know it comes up in the next chapter, like it's big, because we'll get into it. But I feel like I remember him just having like a fleeting thought about it and then like it being confirmed.
All right, chapter 12, still Arthur's point of view, April 22nd, 1912. Lavinius Clarkson, who was the mailman that went missing, was found as a hump. So his blood was drained and he was skinned, along with someone else, possibly one of the people the Pinkerton was looking for. Arthur found a small window at the top of his church that he believes Good Stab has been using to enter at night to spy on his journal.
Right. And maybe it wasn't. I don't know. I had it in the last chapter, but I know in this chapter too, he was like, when the bodies turned up, he says he writes in his journal, like, it's a mockery of the time-honored practice of buffalo hunting. I was like, ugh. And then again, he's like scared of Good Stab reading his words about how Indians are menaces. He's like really worried about it. He's like, he's really worried about him knowing the things that he's actually thinking about his people. And I really hate this guy. I hate that he does because he
has been sneaking in.
Well, right. But yeah, the mockery of the time-honored practice of buffalo hunting really pissed me off. Really pissed me off.
All right, so Arthur goes and collects Dove's belongings from the hotel that he was staying at to send back to Dove's family, but also for other purposes because he's nosy too. Arthur tries to turn Good Stab into the sheriff, but Good Stab doesn't show up to the church this Sunday during the sermon. However, he does show up later that night, even though everything was locked up. He somehow found his way in.
Yeah,
which is probably through that window at the top that he found.
Yeah, that the cat found. And he was like, oh, wow, that's a nice window. It could open during the summer. And then he was like, wait a minute. Is Good Stab reading my journal? Is Good Stab sneaking in here and reading my journal at night and seeing me drunk in the pews? He also thinks that too. He's like, is Good Stab been watching me getting fucked up in the church? Like, yeah, I think so. Yeah, so then Good Stab does end up showing up because obviously Good Stab knew probably that he was being set up.
Oh, right? Yeah, he did. Because he mentions that in the next chapter, I think.
Yeah. So Arthur tries to like sneakily ask him questions. He's like terrible at it, like trying to like hint at things and get Good Stab to say things. And eventually Good Stab just fucking like grabs a mole and eats it.
The cat brought the mole in.
Yeah. And then Arthur just like drinks the mole right in front of Arthur. Or Good Stab drinks the mole right in front of Arthur. Like he ain't playing games. He's like, look, I know you're asking me these questions. Let me just prove it to you right here and now. Like, be scared. And then he just starts talking about, and then he just goes into a story. I was like, that's crazy. That was great. I mean, I truly was like, oh, this is getting really good now. That was wild. I just imagined him like staring, like the intense eye contact he had with Arthur while he just like drank the blood out of this mole.
Yeah, and Arthur doesn't even do anything really.
He didn't. He just was like, all right, I'll keep listening to your story. Crazy. Oh, and also we found out that Arthur went to Yale in this too, which I thought was because we were talking about him being, in the Civil War.
Oh, right.
And
but we don't know which side he's on.
We didn't know which side he was on. But the fact that he went to Yale
doesn't really tell us.
Yeah, true. But yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was interesting that he like went to Yale. Yeah. It was interesting that he went to Yale. And then part of me is like, did he really go to Yale? Is he lying about going to Yale? I don't trust this man, even in his journal,
Yeah, I don't see why he would lie about that in his journal.
I do.
Okay.
Well, because he already thinks Goodstab's reading his journal, so maybe now he's starting to write things in there that he wants Goodstab to think about him.
Maybe. All right.
I don't
Chapter
trust
13. Him. Okay. Chapter 13, The Nakazer's Dark Gospel. So we're back in Goodstab's point of view, April 22nd, 1912. So this chapter is long as fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. First in this chapter, Goodstab meets a boy and finds out about what happened at Heavy Runner, which is his like where he lived, where his tribe lived, and that it was destroyed. Right. That's where his tribe was.
Oh, that's right. I completely forgot to put that in there.
Yeah. And this boy tells him it was destroyed. And then he starts like this big fire. There's like a big fire in the forest. And his little buffalo is his companion now. His little buffalo, because it's been a couple, like, does like a year or a couple years pass in his story?
Yeah,
because the buffalo is kind of like grown up a little bit.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I left that part out. But then after that happens, he meets what he thinks is a trapper, but is a Pukini Indian. I'm not really sure still about this guy.
Well, he says who he is. It's Nappy. You don't remember that?
But I thought Nappy was just short for a white person. Because what doesn't he call a white person? Nappy cow something.
They call him something like that, but Nappy.
Oh.
But he says then he finds out that it's Nappy, or he's like, oh, it's Nappy. And then the Nappy is like one of their gods. He's the creator. So the Nappy stories tell of a mythical figure who creates the world and everything in it. But then he's kind of like a trickster, and he gets into trouble when he starts tinkering with his own creation. So he's like the trickster, but he was also the creator. So he talks about Nappy being like the creator of the backbone.
Oh, and how the hell did I miss all that?
I have no idea.
I don't either.
Because he says it quite a few times. Like Nappy
I knew he was calling him Nappy, but I always thought Nappy was short for the word they use for white people.
No, well, because this is Nappy with the capital N.
Oh,
when they say the white people, the Nappy Kwan or the Nappy Wan or whatever, it's lowercase. But Nappy is their creator figure, and he's also a trickster, which is why he's like dressed as what he's dressed as. Because he's like saying, Nappy's like, yeah, I've been following you around, I've been watching you. I know who you are. Because he talks about like, and eventually all Pukuni have their own Nappy story, like running into Nappy or Nappy like coming in and intervening in some way, because Nappy's this like trickster guy who's like too involved with his creations.
I see. Yeah. Well, I had to read this chapter Sunday morning. Ava was running around, so I was probably distracted.
Oh yeah, it's a hard book to be distracted to read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so this Nappy dude. He lives in a cave and has been watching Goodstab and knows what he is, because apparently he's a god that I didn't realize. And Goodstab is growing a beard because he's been feeding off of white men, and he doesn't want a beard. So now he wants to stop feeding off of white people.
Yeah, what a horrible realization that was for him.
Yeah, because he's turning into a white person.
Yeah.
Because I guess Native Americans, kind of, it's hard for them to grow a beard.
Yeah, so
apparently, or at least his tribe anyway.
And then you're turning into what you're drinking. But then that's also just like tough to swallow too, because then it's like, well, I don't want to be a white person, so now I have to start drinking Pukuni people.
Yeah.
So that's like a really hard like internal battle.
So he leaves He leaves Nappy behind, and he runs into some. But Nappy does tell him he's going to spend the winter with him. He's out. He leaves him behind. And he runs into some white clay people, which is another Indian tribe. He ends up feeding off of one of them because they were going to die anyway because they had eaten some tainted buffalo meat. And he kills a large band of trapper skinners. He doesn't feed off of them because he doesn't want to, turn into a white person or grow a beard. And he skins them and cuts out their tongue. So this is kind of when that starts, right? So he's now starting to treat white people that he kills like they treat the buffalo.
Yeah. And this was horrifying. Well, horrifying because these like buffalo hunters are tainting the meat so that Native Americans try to eat it and then they get sick and they die. Terrible. Right. Also, the horrifying, disturbing scene going on when Goodstab does go in there and kills all of them because they're like, doing the horrible thing because they blame what are they called? The Skinners go out there.
The Skinners were the boys. Yeah, the younger boys.
They go out there because then they're taking all the pelts, but then Goodstab ruined them all, right? He ruins all of them so that they can't use them, and then they do horrible things. They use butter as lube and start doing some crazy, horrifying stuff to these boys.
Yeah,
and
I'm like, bad.
Yeah, it was super bad, but I think it's important to talk about because it does paint this picture of like how horrible these men were, not only to Native Americans but to each other.
Right.
Like these were just nasty, horrible men doing horrible things, and like laughing about it, but the using the butter as lube was crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, it like made me sick to my stomach. I was like, oh, this is terrible. But but a really good, and also like, I feel like I just didn't think about that either of them like doing horrible shit like that to each other too. Because certainly that happened, certainly the author didn't just make that up. I'm sure that was some kind of practice that they normally did.
Possibly, yeah.
So I'm kind of like, oh, that's terrible. And how much they stink, because he's talking about how they like smell really bad, like these just awful, nasty, like white men out there doing horrible things. The scene itself, very disturbing, made me sick, but the painting of the horrifying things that these people were doing was good.
Right. Yeah.
And it made me feel bad, which was the author's intention. So good job. So good job, Stephen Graham Jones. You're really doing a good job of making everybody uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, he is a good writer. I do like his writing a lot. All right, so after he runs into these white clay people, he comes upon his own tribe, who I guess is moving at this point because their area was burnt up. So he comes across a lodge that his tribe left behind. And this is like a thing they do. It's called the Lodge of the Dead, meaning they left behind someone who was about to die and couldn't continue to travel with the tribe. So he goes in there, and there's an old woman in there, and it's the mother of Tall Dog, which was one of the tribe members that was with him when he became a vampire. And he ends up feeding off of her as she was going to die anyway. And he comes out and finds his father sitting outside. So they have a little chat. His father pretty much knows what's going on, who he is, because there's been rumors of the full blood. And he smokes from his father's pipe, and I don't know if it almost kills him, but he didn't take it very well. And it's like having smoke in his lungs, I guess. So his father picks him up and runs off with him and takes him to the trapper Indian cave, which is Nappy, which I didn't put that on there because I didn't realize who he actually was at the point. So he takes him to Nappy in the cave.
Yeah. That's where he ends up, I'm assuming, spending his winter, like Nappy said.
Right.
Yeah. But those were nice things because even Tall Dog's mom also knew what was going on. Like she knew he was turned into, and I mean, yes, he drank her blood, but it was kind of like a sweet moment too of being like, okay, you're going to go see Tall Dog. And then the moment with his father too, because I think he always kind of felt like he wasn't living up to his father's like he always was kind of felt a little down from his father. So I thought it was a nice moment for them to like have that. Because even then he breaks his dad's pipe. He breaks his pipe and he's like feeling bad about that too while he's suffocating and almost dying.
Yeah.
But then his dad ends up saving him even though he's a monster. So it was a really interesting like dynamic that they had. Like the fact that they're like not scared of him, like the Pakuni people are not scared of him is interesting to me. That they're like, no, you're still a good stab and this sucks. But I don't know. It was very like that was the relationships of that was interesting to me, that they wouldn't be like scared of him, that they've just kind of accepted his fate.
Yeah. And the smoke thing's kind of weird to me because I don't know. being vampires to me are undead. They don't really need to breathe. So it's an interesting take on vampire and vampirism, I guess. Here.
Yeah. And then I wonder if it'll come up again.
I don't know. We'll see. Chapter 14, we're going back to Arthur here, the absolution of 3 persons, April 23rd, 1912. Frida is one of the townsfolk. She comes to the church and asks Arthur if he has the eggs that were given to him. So he was given some eggs and some sausage by another woman, or it might have been from her. I don't remember exactly. But her husband had some milk that turned bad. And then they start smashing the eggs, and they find that one egg has turned bad and it's black as oil. So when it actually the dog was trying to eat it.
Yeah.
And it ended up being black as oil. And Frida says, Nachzer. And that's when Arthur goes back and retitles all of these chapters.
Yeah.
The way they're titled now.
Yeah. Because yeah, so she's like German.
Right.
She has her suspicions about Goodstab and how he's probably a vampire. Because the milk turned bad in the church. He was drinking the milk out of when he poured it in the morning, took it to church, was drinking it, and then it spoiled from the time they got
out of his Stanley
church.
cup.
Yeah. And so that's when she was like, there's a vampire here. And Arthur's just like, okay. Because it's just so interesting how he's really nonchalant about Goodstab eating that mole in front of him.
Yeah, I know. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a man of God and you have a vampire in your church and they just prove that they're a vampire, that's when you start bringing out the crosses, right?
Right. And then this lady's coming here and he already knows that he's a vampire and he's letting her do all this crazy shit. And she's like, vampire. And he's like, yeah, you're right.
Mm.
It's like, okay, do something about it. Like, what are you doing? I'm interested to see his angle because that's the end. Like, that's the last chapter we read this time. So I'm interested to see what his angle is and just kind of like letting Goodstab be a vampire. And he doesn't seem to be that scared. Like, he is scared, but like, is he going to try and be a hero? I'm just very, I'm excited to read these next few chapters to see like what Arthur's angle is here. Like, what is he trying? Like, what is he doing with this information now? And why is he not scared?
Mm.
Or why is he not running or fleeing or telling everybody
doing something?
I
guess he did try to turn him into the sheriff, but he didn't show up.
Right.
But yeah. And there was a small thing I left out. So when he ran into the white clay people, didn't he run into them later and they were painting yellow and black on someone that he had killed?
Yeah.
And then all of the humps that are being killed now are also painted with this yellow black.
Yeah.
And there was yellow black on the cup of water he gave to him, which is what he was using as kind of like evidence to the sheriff that, hey, this could be the guy you're looking for.
But Arthur put that on there.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, Arthur planted that evidence.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
It was Goodstab's cup, but Goodstab didn't leave the paint on there. Arthur put the paint on there. Yeah, so that he could prove. Because he already knew. He was like, I mean, what's the harm? Because obviously it's Goodstab doing this stuff. So I'll just like make it really seem like it is. Because I don't think he wants them to know that he knows that Goodstab is doing this and is a vampire, right? Like, he doesn't want the sheriff to know that he knows.
Right. Okay,
He wants them to figure it out on their own so he can just like wash his hands clean of it. Right. Is what I'm getting.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Well, that wraps up our discussion of Buffalo Hunter Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones, covering pages 121 through 232. Things are really picking up, and we're just getting deeper into the madness. Next week, we'll continue with pages 233 to 306, so be sure to read along and join us for the next leg of this wild ride. We'd love to hear your thoughts on what's happened so far. Hit us up on our Discord, Instagram, Blue Sky, or TikTok with your reactions, theories, or anything else you're dying to share. We're always listening and love connecting with other readers. Thanks for listening and happy reading.
Our intro music is Upbeat Funk, performed by Mikhail Smusev, and our outro music is Lo-Fi Chill, medium version, performed by Bodan Kuzman. You can find both tracks on pixabay.com. Thanks for joining us, family, and we'll see you next week.